And we're live. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing this fine? What's today? I lose track.
Wednesday. 2
Wednesday
minutes. Well, Wednesday for me. It's still Tuesday back in the US.
on Tuesday for me. All right, sorry guys. I lose track since I don't have a day job anymore. So it's Tuesday night and beginning Wednesday for Igor. So he was kind enough to stay up for us so that he can do this amazing webinar that he's prepared for you. Igor always has good stuff to share. We've already done a webinar together, and that's the reason why we're doing another webinar together, because the first one is extremely successful. People were very happy with what he had to share. So, I'm really looking forward to, to watch what Igor has for us today. Today, the topic is email marketing. So I know my personal members, my personal students, a lot of them have been coming to me for email marketing tips. And to be honest, I'm a student of this topic. I'm always a student for most topics in the marketing industry. So like all of you here, I'm here to learn from the best. Igor is the best when it comes to list building. He's your go-to solo ad vendor and email marketer. So here I have Igor. I won't delay this because he has a lot to cover, and I don't want to keep him up till very long since it's already like midnight in Israel. So welcome, Igor. And yeah, why don't
All
you
right.
take over?
Let me grab the microphone. And first, of course, thank you for the opportunity to come in and kind of share, because these are the most fun things for me to do. Ever since learning how to outsource in my business, there's always like the question I ask myself: what should I do more of, and what should I do less of? So whatever that less is, I have to get rid of it. Like I have to outsource it, right? So for example, all the technical stuff, I gave it away to Dennis. Like I hate that. But when it comes to writing emails, and especially when it comes to teaching how to do that, on live webinars like this one, although I don't do too many live webinars because I hate the idea of doing them constantly, because it's a bit overwhelming and you kind of have to stay up late. So just like tonight, it's midnight. I do enjoy these tremendously because the energy during these events is incredible. So I've been working intensely on the keynote. So what I suggest is we get right down to it, and you will have to stop me anytime the folks have questions. I will not be looking at the chat box, at least not until I'm done with it. So if there's any questions, don't hesitate. Yell, shout, raise your hand, do whatever you have to do, and we'll handle everything. Now, up front, guys, I want to be honest with you. Email marketing is a huge thing for me. Like, if Kiara is a student of email marketing, then I'm just a fan. I'm just a ridiculously obsessed fan of email marketing, which means there's so many things I can share with you that one webinar isn't enough. So this is why we discussed this prior to the event. We're going to do several of these, okay? So the first one is going to be about the bird's eye view, general philosophy, and some specific email formulas you can use today. Okay, today, even if you got no proof, no market, no authority, no guru friends, no nothing like that. Even if you never wrote an email before, okay? We will do other webinars, other trainings very soon, when we're going to talk about subject lines and how to write great emails without being a great writer, and many other questions. We will answer many other questions you might be wondering. Now, if I seem like I'm whispering sometimes, it is because I am. It is because upstairs my daughter's asleep, and unfortunately the facility, the apartment where I usually do these late night webinars was not available today. So basically for that I do apologize, because I love to scream and shout, to keep the energy up. So anyway, like I said, if you got any questions, feel free to stop me midway through. And with your permission, I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Go for it. I've suggested that they leave questions for the end so that you can go through the content. And
Okay.
we'll have like a few minutes for question time at the end, guys. So we're ready to roll.
Alrighty, very cool. So Kiara, can you let me know if you can see the presentation right now when I moved into full screen mode?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So we're ready to start. Now, this is going to be all about how to build an automated fan-based online business with email. Now, why do I say fan-based? I say fan-based because it's the fans, okay? It's not your customers, it's not your prospects, it's not your prospective buyers that are going to basically allow you to build a six-figure business or multiple six-figure business with email. It's the fans. It's the people who know what you're all about. It's the people who share your experiences. It's the people who agree with your ideas and beliefs. It's the people who basically enjoy not just to buy from you, but also to hang out with you because they dig the kind of person you are, right? That's the kind of audience you want to build. It's the core fan base. Okay, it doesn't have to be huge either, by the way. Like the one thing that Kiara excels at, by the way, is building fan bases. As far as I know, Kiara, you've made, I think, 75 or something, $75,000 with a DA in the last 4 months with the core group of like what, 300 people, even less than that, probably.
76,000 with 320 trials.
See, so here's what I'm talking about. Such a small amount of trials turn into such huge income simply because you're good at building fan bases. You're not just getting customers, okay? You're making those sales to get a customer for life. You're not, getting a customer to make a sale. And that is the cornerstone of my email approach. That's what I want you guys to really understand. Email is all about building those audiences. It's about creating that bond, creating that rapport, and doing it as quickly as humanly possible, although it's not always as quick as most people want it to be. And we're going to be talking about that down the road. So why should you stick around? Why is this going to be different from many of the email marketing trainings you've seen before? Well, first and foremost, okay, you're going to learn how to create instant authority and rapport with your list using very simple 100 to 300 word emails. And this is going to be mostly about the ability to create trust with your list, not on the level that you've been told, by the way, not on the level that you've been sold on by the so-called experts. Okay, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the biggest lie you've been told, which does keep those sales away. Is going to be very, very controversial probably to what you're used to believe about email. And I'm looking forward to see how you respond. I'm looking forward to see whether or not you're going to be able to see the real picture here. So another thing you're going to learn is why email is still the #1 sales generating media online, and why it's not going to change anytime soon in spite of Instagram and Snapchat going faster than the house on fire. And yes, Kiara, in spite of you being the Facebook queen of cool, I still believe email is the king, okay? Because actually, I'm not going to reveal right now because we are going to be discussing that in a few minutes. Next, you're going to learn 10 proven email formulas which generate 6 figures per month in sales every month for me and my team like clockwork for the past 4 years, non-stop, month in, month out. And I'm also going to show you 2 real-world email case studies broken down to nuts and bolts for easy modeling and much, much more if we have the time. So let's dive in. Why email? So if you don't know who Perry Marshall is one of the guys who started this entire industry. He's the guy who's considered to be one of the forefathers of email marketing. He goes back, like his success strikes back like a decade ago, if not more than that. When I started online 8 years ago, he was already a guru. And so Perry Marshall says this. He says, there's all kinds of media and channels, but email is still the center of the marketing universe. It's permission to be inside your customer's personal space. Now, what exactly does that mean? You see, while many people have a Facebook account, many people have an Instagram account, many people have a Snapchat account. I've seen a bunch of marketers out there right now, right, in the past 2 months, for some reason, get on Snapchat like it's the best thing since sliced bread. But, everybody has an email. Well, like some people have Snapchat, but everybody has email. And notice that we still use email for purchase receipts. When you submitted an order for Digital Altitude, you were not requested to share your Facebook address, right? You were asked for your primary email and probably like another email just for safety. I mean, me and my wife, we are planning a trip to Vegas very soon. and we were ordering some tickets for the shows like stand-up comedy and Chris Angel and David Copperfield and stuff like that. And so when we submitted an order for a couple of $1,000s worth of shows, guess what they asked me? They asked me for my primary email and an email where they should send a copy of the receipt. Right? There's a reason why. There's a reason why marketing is built like that. It's because email is still the most reliable. It is the #1 private media. And if you're in their inbox, if you're in your prospect's primary inbox, even if you're hitting the spam, okay, you're still there and you're different. You're different from just somebody who hits them up on Facebook. You're different from just somebody who sends them a snap. It's just a different sort of approach, different emotional connection, if you will, different state of mind. Now, it is, by the way, worth mentioning that you're better off hitting the spam box of a primary inbox than the primary inbox of a spam email. In other words, like, we probably all have that inbox, right? That second email address we use to opt in to a bunch of different offers. So if you're able to get into your customer's primary email, even if you're hitting the spam, that's still better than going into their junk box. So the biggest lie of email marketing. Okay, I promise to tell you, and to many of you it's going to be a shock, but it is exactly as I say it is. Trust me. Okay, I got numbers to prove it. Email is not a content delivery mechanism. It is simply not that. It has nothing to do with delivering content. Email is quite simple. Okay, it's quite simply about entertainment. It's not about teaching them something or giving them great content. It's not a textbook. It's not the media you use to give them a squeeze page tutorial, right? It's really not that. Email is the media you use to infotain, which is the concept I learned from Ben Settle, which means you have to give them nutritious value in small doses, which is wrapped into entertainment container, right? So like basically like broccoli dipped in chocolate, if you will. Because if you use email to give them content straight up, tutorials straight up, quote unquote value, what you're doing is you're putting your subscribers on a pedestal and they stop respecting you. And when people don't respect you, when your subscribers don't respect you, they simply do not buy from you. It is very similar to trying to really pamper a girl when trying to date her, okay, hoping that you will basically get laid in exchange. That's not going to happen. Okay, she's gonna take all your gifts and walk all over you. Okay, ask me how I know. I've done it many, many times. So, okay, that's not the approach you want to take. Your prospects don't really expect you to give them tons of value to prove something to them, okay? In fact, if anything, in this industry, I don't know about other industries, but in the biz op space, in the internet marketing space, I find that the approach of you must prove to me that I should invest my time with you is way more effective than trying to prove something to the people on your list. Because if you do, they simply don't view you as an authority. And being viewed as an authority is a primary component of being able to pull sales with email, because authorities command sales. They just command actions. Like if you're an authority over someone, you just tell them to do something and they'll do it because you said so. Many will not question it. And that's the kind of vibe you want to create with your list. So if you say something, and if you say they should pick up, a product because it's good for them, you want them to just, virtually, like figuratively speaking, you want them to stand up, get their wallet, pull up, their credit card and swipe it because you said so, right? And in order to attain this status with your list, there are a few formulas you can use, which we're going to talk about down the road on this call. So I mentioned that email is all about entertainment, infotainment, if you will, informative entertainment. And the best way, the best example, okay, that I know to describe it is basically treat email like talk radio. So if you ever listen to programs like Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh or Mike Cernovich, any of these guys that basically get in front of a microphone and talk about things, often not even like specifically about the topic related to the topic of their show, right? They just talk, and they sort of have this conversation with you without really having any conversation. So by the time they're done, with their show, you feel like you know the guy. So that's how you want to be. I know that's not the most, scientific definition, but the closest thing that I've learned to be able to describe what email is and how to treat it is talk radio. And if you never listened to one, you should definitely get on iTunes and subscribe to a few podcasts. Start with Mike Cernovich, okay? Just get the idea what's going on. Basically, when you host your own talk radio show, people, they look forward to discovering your opinion about things. They look forward to discovering your take on things. They look forward to getting your uncensored take and opinion on everything, even their personal life. And so that's what you want to become. You want to become the trusted voice in their head. Okay, and you do that, again, with the email. That's like the fastest, the easiest, and the most proven way to do it. At least that's how it has been for me and my many students. So the number one purpose of email, like I said, is not to deliver contact. Okay, here's what it is all about. The prospect doesn't look for more information. She looks for an authority she can trust in a world full of frauds. Now think how big this is, by the way. Authority she can trust in a world full of frauds. Now this means that until proven otherwise, you are the enemy. Think about it. Until you prove that you are an ally and that you are a trusted authority, okay, someone whose word can be taken for granted, you are the enemy who's trying to get their money. So naturally, they will not trust you, which is why oftentimes sales don't happen right away. They have to be in your, circle, if you will, whether it is through email or other media, or maybe even a combination of several media, before they're willing to commit to you financially and emotionally. Okay, actually it's emotionally first and then financially. So basically they're looking for someone who's going to tell them what to do, because the one thing that people hate is as much, and this is going to sound weird, okay, but people hate freedom. They really, really do. People simply hate freedom. And the reason they hate freedom is because it comes with the burden of choices and the burden of responsibility for results or lack of results, which is more often the case in their life. In fact, I'll go even as far as saying that the German people, okay, when Hitler was basically, when they killed him, right? Now, I'm Jewish, so I don't like Hitler. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I respect what he's done as far as his achievement in influence, right? Where he, he influenced a ton of people and came to power in a huge country and dominated Europe. The German people said that Hitler freed them from freedom. Now think how deep this is. Think how our brain actually hates the idea that we have to figure out what to do, make decisions on our own, and live with the consequence. So obviously, okay, the natural outcome of this is we're seeking someone else's shoulders upon which we can place the responsibility for our life. Which is why the whole coaching industry exists. Which is why you're on this call, believe it or not. That's one of those triggers that made you come here and sit and listen to some dude out of Israel telling you how to email your list. Okay? That's what it's all about. So they are looking for someone to tell them what to do, which means you have to own this and you have to tell them what to do. And I see, Kiara, I'm not sure if you've seen this or not, but with email, I see so many people simply refuse. Okay, they just refuse to write. They refuse to just take a stance. They refuse to communicate with their list because they don't feel qualified to do that. They don't feel like they've achieved enough in their life to tell other people what to do. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
So, but I feel that is such a huge misconception. I believe that you sort of claim this title without any credentials, at least on the internet. I mean, when I started claiming this bit by bit, I stepped into the marketplace having no credentials. I mean, the only credential I've had was a list of like 1,400 people in my Aweber account, and tons and tons and tons of failures. And I just stepped in and I started telling people what to do. And when I've done it with certainty, believe it or not, the marketplace gave me that permission. And from that point, it was kind of just snowballed. What was your experience like?
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it was the same for me. And then I learned that I had to position myself as an authority no matter what credentials I had. You know, I was nobody here, like on the island. But then I started learning how to become a superwoman on the internet. Like telling people what to do is definitely one of them. Unless you're gonna, if you don't position yourself as an authority, people are gonna see no point in joining you or listening to what you have to say. So you're definitely making a point there. But I remember it took me a while to build that confidence to start telling people what to do. And I feel a lot of people go through that process where they find it difficult to have that confidence to tell people what to do, but it's definitely a necessity.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And remember, you shared this concept with me. I think it was during our podcast interview that you learned from Ray Higdon on how to basically have things to say and be able to tell people what to do.
Yeah, it's the ILT principle. I always talk about it because people tell me, you know, how am I supposed to, you know, come across as credible, or how am I supposed to get people to join me with no results? And I always teach, well, something I learned from Ray Higdon, which is the ILT method: invest, learn, teach. So you have to invest your knowledge and your time and the money if needs be. Learn the stuff, then teach it to people, and that's how you come across as an authority, and that's how people look up to you. People stick to me not because of my results. People stick to me because of the value I bring to the table, and that's what you get paid for. You get paid for the amount of value you can bring to the table. So that's what we were talking about on the podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. ILT, invest, learn, teach. This is a big concept. I've actually done this without realizing, and I spoke to many of many of today's gurus, like people who you would consider to be gurus, people who make multiple six figures or seven figures, and they all started the same way. I remember speaking to Andrew Shapron, and he was doing the same thing with his list. He was reading mostly John Carlton stuff. John Carlton, in case you don't know, is a very famous copywriter, and he was basically, after he would read something from Carlton, he would feed back to his list what he learned in his own words, putting his own slant, if you will, on this whole thing. And before you know it, the first affiliate promotion he'd done, he outperformed Mike Filsaime. I mean, I don't remember if it was Filsaime or another big guru. Please don't take my word for it. I might be butchering this, but he did outperform some mega, superstar with this tiny little list of, I think it was like 3,000 people, simply because he developed their support through ILT. Okay, again, Ray Higdon was the first one who I've heard to put it in actual concept, right? But that was the behavior. So anyway, why do we talk about that? Because we just want to remind you that you don't need anyone's permission to tell your list what to do. And that's important because you have to claim that authority. No one's going to give it to you. No one's going to put you on a pedestal and root for you and tell people, go do your thing. You have to claim that. Only then they follow. Which brings me to my next point. She seeks leadership, safety, and understanding in an unsafe environment. So notice that I chose three specific things. Leadership, which means you have to claim, right, that authority and be concrete and definite about everything you say. Safety, because it's the world full of scammers and frauds, and they've probably been scammed before, or they've heard stories of other people being scammed. So they need that feeling of safety. And understanding. It's actually one of the fundamental things, one of the fundamental needs we have as human beings. It's the feeling of being understood and being loved. So, which is why in my emails, you will never find me judging my fans, right? So judgment is the vibration you'll probably not feel from me towards my fans. You will always feel that vibration towards the enemy. Okay, we're going to be talking about the concept of the enemy in a little bit, but your prospects, your fans, they want to feel understood. They want to know on many levels, intellectual and emotional, that you understand what they've gone through. okay? And that is key. So it is obvious, something we have to mention, it's the elephant in the room, and that is email is risky. If you are to become a leader, okay, if you are to become an influencer, you have to be willing to risk making a fool of yourself. Your emails can't just be pretty words. Impossible. It will not work. You have to surprise the reader, provoke the reader, shock the reader, and you have to be very confident doing it, which is when you basically put yourself out there, right? And that's the dangerous part. Now, Kiara, you put yourself out there pretty much daily. You put up videos, you put up posts, you're about to speak on stage in a few months, and I think in Vegas. How do you feel doing that? How did it feel for the first time?
Um, Obviously, sometimes I'm like, oh, should I send this email? Like once I did an email title, like because you were talking about shock, and it was something I learned that you need to shock your email list so that they actually open your emails and see what you have to say. I remember once doing one, will you sleep with me something? But I actually had no whole marketing, like a whole marketing team associated to it, but it really kept, like, people actually read what I had to say and they were like, wow, what you said makes so much sense. I also got rid of my haters, people who weren't happy with my emails. So to be honest with you, I was happy with that. So yeah, definitely what you're saying, but it's all about putting yourself out there, taking risks. So you do need to take risks with email. I try to do that. I don't know about the stage thing. The stage thing, I'll have to tell you when I get to it. I think when I see those people, probably like be shaking. But I want it so bad that I won't. I just want to be all over that stage when I get to it.
Well, I'm sure it's not going to be much different from making a Facebook video, trust me. You just have a bunch of eyeballs on it, but they're in the room, they're not in their own kitchens, if you were watching your video. Alrighty, so guys, look, email is risky. It is absolutely true. It is scary. It is petrifying sometimes. Oftentimes, I myself doubt whether or not I should email something, whether or not it's going to generate a bad response, but you have to take risks. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to make a fool of yourself, to make a few mistakes, to piss some people off, and that is okay. The one thing people hate is somebody who's not real. It's somebody who's not authentic. But anyone who's authentic, even if they're controversial, even if they're out there, even if they are not necessarily someone you would agree with, right? You still respect that person for being able to stand up and be a straight shooter. Just be authentic about what they believe, okay? And be confident in their own skin, because that's a quality we'll respect. Because on some level, we're all uncomfortable in our own skin. We're all uncomfortable with who we are. So when we see somebody who is, at least on the surface, we naturally respect that person and consider that person to be an authority, at least on some level. So now my favorite upside of becoming an email marketer is actually making the shift from being the consumer of other people's marketing to the creator of marketing for others to consume. Now think about how big this concept is. Most people out there who fail in this industry, and actually every single person who fails in this industry, is stuck in a loop. Some people call it the information overload loop. I don't think so. I don't really call it the information overload. I basically believe that they're stuck consuming shit instead of creating. So all they do is they watch videos, get on webinars, buy courses, read, watch, but they miss the action element. Now, what is the action element for internet marketers? We don't really manufacture product, right? We don't really do anything physical. So what the hell is action everyone's talking about? Well, let me shatter this myth once and for all and bring clarity to this for you. Taking action in this industry means creating content for others to consume, creating content which is going to attract the kind of people you want to attract, creating material which is basically designed to get people to trust you, to get people to like you, to get people to say, I like that Kiara chick. I think she's cool. I think she's authentic. I wonder what else she's got going on, and then go check out what she's all about. That's the purpose of the kind of content you want to be creating. And what email forces you to do, okay, is become that creator. Now, it doesn't mean you stop consuming. In fact, consuming lots of content is key to having lots of ideas to email about, but you have to balance the creation, the consumption, and you have to be creating way more than you're consuming. Okay, that is key. That is absolutely, that is so important. I can't even begin telling you. Okay, you will simply not move an inch in your business, and you will find yourself spinning wheels just like you are right now, 5 years from now, unless you create the habit of creating daily. Okay, notice I write at the very minimum 2 emails per day. Kiara produces at the very minimum a gazillion Facebook posts a day. She does at least like 4 or 5 webinars a month, as far, well, from what I've been able to track, of course. Like anyone who's a top earner creates. Now, the beautiful thing about your creations, by the way, is of course they stay. So it's like real estate that stays forever. So I have people hitting me up about stuff I've created like 5 years ago, when I was still a nobody, still trying to make my way up, still speaking with a really funny Russian/Israeli accent, and it's great, because the more you create, the easier it gets. The more you create, the easier it gets to close those sales. Which is why, by the way, recently, last 6 months, I've started the podcast, because that's another media through which I can create and help my clients, improve their life. So think about it. This is a really big concept. In fact, this is an email marketing, webinar. But if you walk away with just this one concept and you get into the habit of creating daily, man, my job's done. Like, I can sleep well at night. So let's take a break and let me share some bear hunting wisdom with you. Now, I'm not a bear hunter or anything like that. I don't come from a family of bear hunters by any means. But here's something I've discovered about bear hunting, which I didn't know before, which changed my email marketing game forever. And it says, the bear hunter doesn't chase his prey. A bear that knows that is being hunted is nearly impossible to catch and is ferocious if cornered. Instead, the hunter lays traps baited with honey, and he does not exhaust himself and risk his life in pursuit. He baits, then he waits. Now, what the hell does this have to do with email marketing? Well, very simple. You might have felt sometimes, basically sometimes when you try closing a sale, or when you've spoke to a prospect, that you sort of chase him, that you're sort of like desperate to close the sale. Okay, you probably felt like that at least once, if not more. And that is a bad position to be in, and that feeling kind of sucks. When the prospect feels you're trying to close the sale, when the prospect feels, quote unquote, chased and pressured, that prospect is timid. That prospect is very, trigger happy on, backing out of the deal. They have huge buyer's remorse. They have tons of objections, and it's really, really difficult to close that person. However, if the prospect comes to you, that's a totally different vibe. Okay, if the prospect reaches out to you, or at least it feels for the prospect that he's reaching out to you, that changed the whole dynamic of the communication, and then you can just relax, take it easy, and close that sale without any feeling of yuckishness, if you will, right? And not for yourself and not for your client. And this is only done by baiting. So the question is, what is bait? Well, I can tell you that bait is email. Email is bait. And if you play your card right, you can use your emails as high quality bait to attract high quality prospects. And so here's 10 formulas to create bait that works. Okay, that's proven by years of writing emails. So the first type of bait, probably my favorite one, is to read a page out of their diary. Now, what does that mean? To read a page of their diary is to write an email that reflects their present experience. Okay, something happened to them today or yesterday or last week, in a way where they feel like you've been sitting under the table when they've had the conversation about that with their wife that night. That's how close it has to be. And when you can do that, all of a sudden, this person trusts you. Now, how is that even possible? Why would someone trust you without knowing you, without ever having spoken to you in any way, simply because you quote unquote read the page of their diary? Well, it happens because if the person sitting across the table knows what we're going through, the understanding we spoke about earlier, this feeling of being understood, the primal part of the brain simply says that is an ally. I trust that person. It's cool to hang out. And that's when you're in. Now, obviously, if you violate that trust, you're out. However, that's an easy way to get in, and it doesn't really require proof or income statements or anything like that. All it requires you to do is to really understand what your prospect is going through. Now, strategy number 2 is probably one of the oldest copywriting formulas there is. It's called problem, agitate, disqualify, solution, introduce new solution. And what that means is you speak about a problem. You start your email talking about a problem they are experiencing right now. So it might be something on the lines of, if we were inviting folks to this webinar, we'd probably start talking about, do you have a list but you never email your list because you're afraid to piss them off? That's a problem. So immediately we established a qualifier. So if you're going through this, pay close attention. Bam, got their attention. Then you got the agitate. Agitate meaning now you have to kind of, twist the knife, right? Stick a knife into that wound and twist it until they pass out, which means we have to build up emotional pain associated with that problem. For example, you spent tons of money on traffic, but you're not emailing the list, so the list goes stale. You wasted your money. You haven't made many sales, and now you have nothing to show for it. Basically, make you, say things to make them feel like total losers, if you will, in this case. Now, it might seem mean to you. That's okay. It's okay to be mean, okay? When it comes to email, if you're doing it with the purpose of helping the person reading the email. For example, the only way for someone to want to get healthy, okay, to get skinny, to get their weight in, and to get back in shape, is if they are able to stand in front of the mirror naked and clearly see they got way too fat. So the first step to fixing your alcoholism problem, for example, is to admit you're an alcoholic. Same thing. So before they can fix their inability to solve a problem, first you got to really agitate the impact that problem has in their life. And so then the next step is to basically disqualify a solution. Now this means to focus on one or several traditional, and I say traditional in air quotes, solutions, and basically disqualify them, show why they don't work, and then introduce a new solution, which is your product. So if we're promoting digital altitude, would disqualify, other opportunities, probably, like stuff like, I don't know, safe lists and traffic exchanges and pyramid schemes and 2x4 matrices and ref sharing programs and stuff like that, and then talk about DA as the solution. So you start out with an emotional approach, and then you finish it off, you polish it off with a totally logical approach, which you can't really argue with. So if you've done the emotional engagement at the beginning right, you're almost guaranteed a really qualified click-through to your sales page. Now, again, guys, if you have any questions about these, make sure to ask me, because I will not demo each and every single one of these strategies. I will only focus on 2. So if you have questions, make sure to ask. So strategy number 3, fear and insecurity. Now, that's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll say a few words about it. Basically, if you can write an email that describes their most intimate fear or most intimate insecurity about the topic with which you're trying to help them, you will not only get their attention, but you might even scare them into action if you do it right. In other words, you have to be willing to press those buttons. You have to be really mean to them in order to push them off the fence. So again, if I was writing to promote digital altitude, I would probably focus. You know what? Actually, it doesn't really matter what you're promoting. What matters is who's reading the email, because it's the fear, it's the emotion, right? So let's just say I'm focused on somebody who's been a part of a business opportunity for about a year, but they haven't succeeded yet. So I would probably play on the insecurity of them feeling stupid. So imagine this person is a member of a company, and they went to their events, and they've spoken to the top earners, and they've seen so many people make money with that company, but they've been a member for a year and they can't make it work. So on many levels they're experiencing insecurities, but I know for a fact they're probably feeling pretty darn stupid for not being able to figure this out, right? While everybody else is moving forward, they're stuck. So I would probably play on that insecurity to get their attention, to really get them, to stir up emotion. And then I would move to the call to action to DA, stating how this is not something they need to quote unquote figure out, right? This is something where they have coaches helping them, where the system has been really, really perfected, etc. So like at that point, it's so much easier to have that conversation because you pressed all the right buttons, making them open to the conversation. And again, I want you to remember that you're being mean, not to hurt them, but to help them. Because if they don't have a problem, you're not able to really spark that insecurity in them. Like, it's impossible to make someone feel bad about not making money online unless there is already a feeling within them about not, not making good money online, and they feel insecure. So all you're doing is just you're triggering existing emotions. Okay, you're not trying to create something. You're just trigger existing stuff they actually want to bury deep inside, and not really look at, which isn't healthy. So strategy number 4, polarizing opinion. So this is very simple. It's just, go on the marketplace, take a day to research, and write down all the common ideas that pop up everywhere. Okay, and then write the complete opposite. Find out a reason, find out a way to make it work, okay, and say the complete opposite of what everyone else is saying. So a great example is when I was starting out, everybody was talking about the relationship and email, just like they talk now. So I stood up and I said, there's no such thing. Like, what relationship? Do you even know the person writing the email to you? I mean, does the prospect really care about you? No, not really. So what the kind of relationship are you talking about? So, I sort of twisted, or should I say untwisted, the twisted definition of what a relationship is, which everyone was kind of throwing around. And anyone who threw it around, I knew they weren't making money because they had no fucking clue what they were talking about. So I was like one of the first few people who said, look, there's no relationship. Just got to sell in a certain way and pitch in every email. And that's how I did it. I then proceeded to do the same thing about, the email frequency. Everyone, I mean, you can go on the word phone right now and start a thread and say, how often should I email my list? Or just look up an older thread and everyone will tell you, email your list once a week to not to upset them. Only pitch them if you have a high quality offer, and only do it once a month, and blah, blah, blah. And I stood up and I said, no, email daily. Then I said email twice a day. Then I said email twice a day and pitch in every email. So like, it was very polarizing when I first said it. It still is very polarizing to a lot of people who kind of get into, get on planet Igor. So all these, they get attention and they make me look really different from all the other quote unquote email marketing experts out there. Again, very important. This is how you generate authority. You just not conform, right? You don't just be like everybody else. You have to stand out. So number 5, playing movies and books. Now this is very easy. It doesn't really require explanation. You just take on a movie idea, you take on a movie you've seen or a book you read, and you basically draw a parallel between that and your industry. So I did it with solo ads many times, and if you're on my list, you've probably seen me do it. Like, one of the most famous emails I've sent out, the one I've got the most praise for, is 50 Shades of Solo. Basically, it's a play on 50 Shades of Grey, the bestseller in the movie, the best-selling book in the movie, where I spoke about how there's more to what did I say? Man, I wrote a long time ago. I think I wrote about there's more to it than meets the eye. How there's this guy, he's a billionaire, and, you know, um, everyone thinks he's like a nice guy, and like he just, just a regular guy who just happens to be a billionaire, but it turns out he's a freak. So same thing, with the girl, she's a very nice girl, etc., but she turns out to like it as well. So at the end of the day, don't don't judge the book by its cover. And then I tied it into a pitch about traffic or leads or something. So my point is, it was an easy way to write an email. Did not have to come up with the idea. All I had to do is just find something that's mainstream and focus on that. Just give it my own point of view, my own, slant. Number 6, mock your competition. So I mentioned this briefly earlier. Your competition can be anything. It can be someone as big as Donald Trump. It can be something as little as another traffic source, which it is for me. Like you see me, mock Facebook ads a lot and mock SEO a lot because I sell solo ads, right? So, naturally, these are the enemies. If you're promoting, digital altitude, your enemy is a ref sharing program, or your enemy is a 2x4 matrix scam. Your enemy is, a classic MLM selling a skin beauty or skincare product. Basically, your enemy is anything but digital altitude, and that's on the level of the product. Okay, you could also mock beliefs, ideas, methods, etc. You can mock anything. Okay, now the reason this works so well is because when we have a common enemy, we unite against that enemy. So if you can really build, okay, the common enemy, at least within the mind, okay, your prospect's mind, you're able to create bond between you and the prospect by creating that third point of reference, that enemy. So it's really, really powerful strategy. I would not recommend using it unless you've just, you're really getting to the routine of writing. I would not recommend starting with it, if you will, because it's a bit more advanced. Number 7 is curiosity. But that is very simple. You've probably seen a million of these. Basically, your job is to, man, what's the word? Is to tease. Okay, that's a tease email. All you do is tease, 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 and you say, if you want to find out what it's all about, click here. That's just a blind email. I recommend using these maybe once a week. They work. If you use them every day, they will not work, and these emails will usually pull much higher click-through rate than these other emails. But the quality of the click is going to be slightly lower, so beware. Now, the straight-up benefit. Straight-up benefit is exactly what it seems like. Basically, figure out what's the one thing your prospect desires the most and write an email about that. How they can achieve that with the help of you, your product, or just in general. So if you know that the straight-up benefit of your prospect is to make $10,000 per month and travel the world while doing it, then you can write an email about the 3 things you learned about, living the laptop lifestyle for the last 6 months. Basically talk about that ideal outcome. I mean, they'll appreciate it. They'll be happy to read about it. Now, if you're not living that ideal outcome yet, that's a problem, because it's going to be hard for you to write about it. So again, consider using this at a later stage in your email writing career, because other methods allow you to write without any sort of personal experience. Storytelling, number 9. Storytelling is probably the most effective when it comes to creating fans, because one of the easiest ways to build a guru is to start telling stories, and these stories are now being told by your fans to other fans. So basically, now there's legends about you. So storytelling is really, really powerful, and you don't have to tell stories about like your product or stories about your marketing. You can actually tell stories about your childhood. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. One of the 2 campaigns I'm going to be breaking down in a little bit is storytelling. So you just wait and see what it's all about, okay? But it's really, really powerful. And as a marketer, you should absolutely master storytelling, at least to an extent, which allows you to be semi-interesting when telling them. And last but not least is common mistake. So again, very simple concept. You describe a common newbie mistake people in your marketplace make or that your prospects make, and then you explain why this is a mistake, and then you guide them to your offer as a way to fix it. I mean, that's pretty much it. I can't even go deeper than that because there is no going deeper. Really simple structure. Again, does not require any credibility whatsoever. Simply point out the mistake, explain why it's a mistake, and make a call to action. So, like I said in the beginning of this webinar, is that you will be able to start writing and start creating your authority without any proof. Okay, without any proof or credibility or income statements, or you know what I mean, like you just like in other words, you don't need permission. You can start writing and claim authority, claim that title. So the strategies I marked in red are the ones that allow you to start claiming authority without having authority. So you will become an authority as a result of using these strategies, not, you know, be an authority before you can use them, if you will. That makes sense. Now, the ones that are enlarged are polarized opinion and storytelling. These are the ones I'm going to break down for you real quick and give you actual real-world examples of how they work. So before I do, Kara, do we have any questions?
Let me check. Any questions, guys? How are you finding the content so far? I've definitely been taking lots of notes. So for those of you who've been asking me for tips on email marketing, you guys have a lot over here. So as you can see, guys, you don't need credibility to start writing emails and demanding people to buy from you. Igor has showed you a few good tips on how to go about that. Any questions so far, though, guys? Well, let's give it some time.
Well, I guess not.
No, they're just taking it in, I guess. There were a lot of comments while you were talking, and they were all like saying everything's okay. So as one point, we had a little problem with the slides, but it's working again, it seems. So no worries, just keep going.
All right, cool. So the first type of email strategy I want to break down is the polarizing opinion. Something that is going to shock them. Something that's going to make them kind of wake up out of their daydreaming, out of their complacent mindset, and be like, wait. I'd never heard this before. So here's an example of an email I wrote last week. Okay, and the subject line is business school versus money school. So it's like a curiosity-driven subject line, if you will. Again, we will do another training in subject lines, and I will explain how I write these exactly, and I'll give you more formulas too. So the email reads like this. There are two kinds of business schools. The first one is Necktie University, traditional B school. Necktie University is one of those strange places where everyone is doing business but you. The professors sell you education, authors sell you textbooks, the institution sells you a degree. And what do you pay? An average school charges $80,000 for tuition and $20,000 for books. And what do you get? You certainly don't get your own business. You just get a lot of theories and case studies and lectures. So up until this point, what I've done is I've described why traditional business school is fucking stupid. You pay $100,000 to get fed with theory by people who never made a living in business, okay, by people who actually teach for a living, so they're not really doing it, and you spend a lot of money doing it, and when you get out, you can't really do much with what you learn. So what I've done, again, I've expressed my opinion on business school. Up until this point, anyone can do it. I mean, you can take any topic and express your opinion on it. Now, here's what I do next. But there's another kind of business school. With Digital Altitude, you'll build your own business. They won't charge you for lectures, for books, or for a degree. They won't teach you the 21 P's of marketing or the 15 B's of leadership or the 2,535,604 L's of web design. They'll give you a real system you can use now. They'll pay you when you learn how to use it. Details here. So what I've done is I've expressed a controversial opinion, and then I segued into giving a better solution in a form of Digital Altitude. with a single, very focused, low-key call to action. Now, again, you can see how simple this is. Anyone can do it. Now, a couple things to notice. First off, my sarcasm and my angry attitude, right? So that's my slant. That's how I write. That's my approach to email. You don't have to be as angry. You don't have to be as sarcastic, but you will have to develop your own voice eventually. Then notice the structure. It's very easy on the eye, right? It's very easy to consume this. It's light. It's like a candy bar. It's like a very easy. No, not like a candy. More like a healthy energy bar snack. Just very easy to consume, very fast, and it flows, and bam, call to action. So by the time we're getting down to call to action, it just makes perfect freaking sense. I mean, who would argue with you that business school, the kind of business school you have to take out a student loan to get into and spend 3 or 4 years studying only to get out and get a job at Starbucks, who would argue about that being a stupid idea? Very few people. And the ones who will argue with you, these are the enemies. These are the people you need to mock. These are the people you need to repel, okay, in order to create a deeper bond with your fan base. So again, like very simple stuff. This literally takes, 10 minutes to write. It is very simple. So even if you have a day job, if you just sit down, I mean, at first, of course, it'll take you more time, probably like 30 to 40 minutes, but eventually get it down to 10 minutes, and you can do this from anywhere. Uh, Very easy. I mean, it's like the easiest thing in the world for me at this point. So that's one strategy. That was the polarizing opinion, does not require any proof of credibility, simply express an opinion. Now, the next one is storytelling. Like I said, also does not require any credibility, does not require you to have rich marketing experience or anything like that. All you have to do is just be able to tell a good story. So, subject line, how to ethically cheat your way to six figures. Now, this is, by the way, a benefit-driven subject, right? Because we're implying on the end result, but of course, we're also implying on cheating, which is something that's controversial and people pay attention to that sort of stuff. So the word cheat sort of jumps at you from the screen. So the email reads like this. My eighth grade science teacher, Miss Jackson, was a genius. Not at science, at catching us students cheating on tests. We called her the Hawk. First, the Hawk would walk through the bathrooms to check the paper towels for notes. Second, she would make us take off our sweatshirts in case we had written on our arms. Third, she would force us to sit away from our best friends so we couldn't help each other. And only then she would allow us to take a test. Why was she so strict? Because just like other teachers, parents, and the entire school board, Miss Jackson thought of cheating as a bad thing. But is it really? Wouldn't you cheat a little bit if you knew it would get you faster results? I sure would. I wouldn't break the law or anything, but I'd definitely break the rules, especially if those rules were set by someone with an agenda to keep me poor and miserable like the government. Plus, what many would consider cheating, I consider being smart. If they want to work harder, let them. I'll take the fast and easy way every time. So as you can see, I'll take the fast and easy way every time basically links to the business opportunity. Okay, now the actual email focuses on a story from school, okay, which actually incidentally isn't really a true story. It's just something didn't happen to me. It's someone else's story, slightly modified for the purpose of salesmanship, which I basically modeled into an email. But notice that there's no marketing talk in this. There's no income proof. There's no claim of me being a millionaire and promising you an amazing lifestyle. All there is a good, entertaining story, which is very relatable because we've probably all had teachers in school who hated students for cheating, and they did stuff to prevent them from doing so, and we hated those teachers. And basically, it is an easy way to segue into the idea that you could cheat your way to get more results. Like you can ethically cheat to get better results, because essentially any business opportunity, again, such as Digital Altitude, such as other companies, that's what they allow you to do. They allow you to cheat. I mean, a huge a huge chunk of the way. Like they allow you to slash your learning curve by such a huge amount. You have no idea. So that's how easy it is. Okay, tell a story, connect the idea, make a call to action. Not rocket science. Okay, it does not require you to be Superman or Superwoman. Simply sit down and write. Now you're probably wondering at this point, okay, Igor, so if I do this, if I follow your blueprint, if you will, how soon can I expect sales? How soon should I start seeing people give me, giving me money? Well, truth of the matter is, no one knows, because every email is a leap of faith. You put it out there and you hope they respond, but you don't know. Just like, you do everything you possibly can to ask a girl out on a date, you behave right, you dress well, etc., but you don't know. Some will not. Some will not say yes. Others will say yes only after they get to know you a little better. Well, some will say yes right away. So you have to realize that influence, or this connection that you're looking for, is not an instantaneous thing. While there are some people who are emotional, okay, that will jump right away, who often tend to be just as emotional and quick to jump out. Okay, we all got this probably. You've probably generated $1 trials that cancel like within the first 4 days and never continued to the next level. The people who really become your fans take the time to get to know you. So they will take the time to read a few emails. They will take the time to find you on Facebook. They will watch a few videos. I mean, for me personally, they get on my podcast and they listen to my podcast episodes. They take the time and they sort of get ready to dive all in. But once they're ready, they're in. And that's the beautiful part about email. Once they're ready, they go in and they stick. They upgrade. They really get serious, okay, about achieving their dream goal and having your assistance in doing so. And that's why I love email. While you might not get sales instantly, but you will get sales, and that's the beautiful part. Now, that is why I recommend emailing for no less than 30 days consistently every single day without giving up at first. Like, that's what you have to do. Don't get emailing for 2 days and stop. Don't email every other day. Email every day for 30 days minimum, okay, to see results. That's the only way to do it. You have to build that momentum. Now today, after having been mailing all these years, of course, I mean, I get sales coming in from emails I wrote years ago. I get sales oftentimes coming from emails that I wrote a couple of months ago, and people actually click on those links and they get in. Like, they only, for some reason, they go back and start rereading them. Apparently one email catches their attention, they start reading everything. I know that people do that with my podcast. Like, they listen to a podcast episode, all of a sudden they start listening to they listen to all the episode within the span of a couple of days. So that momentum is important. So don't get discouraged if you mail for 2 days or 7 days or even 2 weeks without any sales. That's normal. That's okay. You have to get into that groove. You have to build that momentum. But consistency is the secret. Okay? Consistency trumps everything. If you're consistent about putting yourself out there, it is only a matter of time before you finally hit it right, before you finally strike oil or strike gold, and before the marketplace finally catches up with your title. Okay? So that's pretty much it, Kiara. That's all I've got today. One last thing I want to say before we get into Q&A is, if you do find this overwhelming, or if you find this to be awesome, and at the same time you really don't have the time or the energy to master this skill just yet, maybe hold on to the day job right now, then definitely visit igorsolitz.com/Kiara emails to see how you can have me write your daily emails at just $6.56 per day. Okay, so check it out. If you feel that outsourcing that to me would be better than you trying to master this on your own, but learn. Okay, recognize that this is not a lifetime solution for you. If you are to become great in this industry, you will have to create your own emails. Eventually, you will have to develop this skill set. So this is temporary solution. This is not forever. Okay, make sure to keep that in mind when you visit igorsolitz.com/Kiara emails. There you go.
All right. Well done. I've learned a lot of stuff on this webinar. What about you guys? Do you learn a lot of stuff? A lot of people were saying awesome stuff though during the webinar. So let's see. I love Igor who speaks the truth even when it hurts. Tell me about it. He was mocking me on a podcast once. I'm getting a lot of yeses here. And I still have over 70 people live. So you did a great job keeping their attention. So what did I want to say? Yeah, guys, I think this solution, I know I have a lot of DA people here because I know a lot of people in DA follow me. This solution is great, especially for newbies, because in the beginning, when you're starting out, especially with a done-for-you system like DA, and I use DA as an example because it's what I promote, the thing is, you want to focus more on mastering traffic because it's literally done for you. But having the emails, I think different emails, which set you apart, is also great. So your list building, and you have someone like Igor, who obviously has a ton of email marketing experience. He sends emails that, you know, literally bring you cash. Then definitely recommended. So you have a 9 to 5, like he said, and if you want to reduce the overwhelm and just focus on the traffic bit right now, then I'd suggest you go to the link. I do have a link on this particular page where you guys are chatting. If you click, actually, you know what? I'll put the link for you. That's why they call me Kheifets. All right, guys, let me send you the link in the chat. All right, you guys have the link there. So, all right, so you got a question, Maria. I have an email list of 11,000, but only 200 open my emails. How can I get more to open up?
Great question, Maria. First off, congrats on building a list of 11,000 people. Do you mind sharing how you built it? I'll answer the question anyway, but you know it'd be interesting to find out. So 200 emails, 200 opens out of 11,000. If we do the math here real quick, is 1.8% open rate. 1.8 isn't much. I would expect, even for 11,000 list, I would expect for you to get at the very least about 800 to 1,100 opens, because that's the kind of email open rate I strive for. I strive for about 10% or so on the prospect list. On the buyer list, I look for higher open rates, for sure. But on a prospect list, okay, you bought them. You bought them from Anthony, as in you purchased the actual leads, or did you purchase traffic generated to an opt-in page and that's how they got on your list? Really important to make that distinction. Because if you purchase those leads, and then getting 1.8% may be actually pretty good, because you know usually the leads that you purchase and sort of import onto a list are kind of dead. So 1.8 is actually pretty good. But if you generated those as opt-ins, then definitely want to strive to 10%. And okay, yeah, so that's not a bad result. But if you were to be building an opt-in list, then you'd probably get much higher open rates. What's the system you're using to email right now? I guess there's a slight delay. I guess there's a huge delay. Okay, so okay, go GVO. Okay, so a couple of reasons why people might not be opening your emails. First off, because you purchased that list, they might not know who you are. Now, if they don't know who you are, why the hell you're in their inbox, then it makes it really difficult to get them to open. Second reason, the subject lines. Maybe what you're stating there is simply not relevant. It's not hitting. It's not hitting their emotions. It's not hitting their the primal part of their brain. Maybe it's just not relevant to what they want to achieve at this point. Okay, and third reason is, of course, not being delivered. Now, GVO is a stable system, and getting 1.8% on purchase leads that you imported I mean, that's okay. That's not bad. Because again, like I said, purchasing means is not effective. So if I were you, I would probably start building my list using an opt-in method, have them opt into your list and know who you are right from the get-go, because that's how you generate a much higher quality audience. But definitely don't get rid of the 200 that do open. Make sure you start, bonding with them and build the rapport using the strategies we discussed on this call. Okay, which list provider do I recommend? By Marcy. Marcy, by list provider, do you mean like an autoresponder, or do you mean or to get a list? Just to make sure I'm getting this right, because if it's an autoresponder, then I probably would recommend Aweber. It still delivers better than others, and it's easier to use than GetResponse. And personally, I've seen GetResponse drop the ball really bad as far as delivery in the past several months. Yeah, yeah. Scott, yes, these emails can be used for any program that is similar to Digital Altitude, MOB, and Power Network. There's a new one coming out called Exitus Elite right now. So anything that's of the financial freedom nature while traveling the world and living a great life, that's the kind of emails that I'm writing. Okay. By the way, guys, if you don't have an email autoresponder, feel free to grab that email package, because we actually walk you through, once you get in, we walk you through exactly how to set up your account, how to set up for optimal delivery, and how to basically have us, okay, to install those emails for you. Something I forgot to mention. One of the bonuses is we install the emails for you. I not only write, but I have my team install them. So you like literally just give us the link and the login details after you set it up and leave. And so that's it. We handle everything else. You'll see us loading emails into your account every single week, building out a huge, really effective follow-up sequence. By the way, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I posted on my Facebook profile this a Digital Altitude member, Alex, who been getting our traffic. He's also a member of my VIP club, and he's been getting traffic and the emails. So he generated 62 trials off of 2,500 something clicks, which to him, I mean, he said he never had such an amazing result. So I just posted the link to his testimony in the chat box in case you want to check it out. That's like a real world case study of somebody who's a Digital Altitude member. He's an OSP member as well. So using the Online Sales Pro sales funnel for Digital Altitude, and he's mailing using our emails. And he says that basically the response he's getting is just tremendous. So in case you want to check out a real person using these, using this service right now.
What did you say those results were again?
2,500 clicks delivered so far, and 62 Aspire trials.
Damn, that's a very good result.
Yeah, but it's worth mentioning, by the way, that first off, he's got this great personality. I mean, he's a really cool dude, a huge Harley Davidson fan, so he stands for something, you can tell. And also, as far as I know, he has a little bit of a presence going on besides the emails. He has, I think, a couple of videos online. He's got a Facebook presence, pretty active Facebook presence. So it's sort of like the perfect storm for him, where as a result of the emails, they take interest, and all of a sudden they're in his world, if you will.
Gotcha. All right, Heather. With your subscribers, do you suggest using the company emails for your subscriber list, or should you write your own?
With your subscribers, do you suggest using the company emails? Yeah, well, based on this webinar, Heather, obviously I suggest to write your own with your own voice, because company emails are usually not written by professional copywriters who really understand what's going on. In other words, as a rule, company emails are written once, okay, when the company is formed, and that's pretty much it. And these are the same emails that everyone else is getting, which get into the whole duplicate content trap with Gmail, and it gets nasty. Also, usually the company gives you like 7 emails or 14 emails, and that's it. You want to email every day. There is no. I think I've seen the screenshot you posted, Kiara, before the webinar. You said, "What's the kind of frequency we should stick to after the 14 days?" as if the first 14 days is this magical period. Well, my experience is that there's no magical period. It's like email every day, all the time, period. There's no 14 days or 7 days. There's just constant email daily. And that's how you create true influence, because you need to have something important to say every single day in such a busy, volatile marketplace.
Gotcha. Sorry guys, I'm just moving because I need my battery. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right, because at the end of the day, it's for a lot of people, it's gonna take more than 14 days to build that trust factor. So
I mean, how much time does it take for folks to build trust factor with you over Facebook?
I mean, with Facebook, it's a bit less, but it still takes sometimes well over a month, average 3 months sometimes.
See, and that's normal. That's okay. That's like the rational human being, the normal human being takes their time to kind of see what's going on. Like I remember I started hanging out with this dude. He runs a grocery store, right? About a year and a half ago or something like that. And it took a while before he invited me and my wife to his house. And it took a while before we sort of connected as families. But at this point, right now, at this point, we spend time at each other's homes all the time, weekly. But before that happened, they were distant and we were distant because we didn't know if we should go and connect, because we've all been burned, right? On many levels, professional and personal. So, because of that, we're always timid, we're always afraid, we're always, checking and double checking. So that takes time, and that's normal. Accept that, embrace this. It's not really rejection, but embrace this timidness, embrace this fear, because that's the only way for you to channel it into something positive, which is basically sitting down and figuring out all the reasons why someone might say no to doing business with you. And once you understand, you can fight that. You can actually put up bait, as we discussed earlier, that fights all of that stuff.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there is a replay available. All you need to do is refresh this link once we end, and you'll be able to rewatch it. Simple as that. Are you getting more questions? Someone actually said that they bought 1,000 clicks from you, 62% opt-in rate, and several $1 trial Aspire team members. Igor has the best traffic. We keep hearing that.
Thanks, Scott. I wanna address the other question here. So Juan Gomez is asking, Igor, I'm creating the opt-in page where I offer a free bait and then take them to a sales page for a cheap run-in offer. I then promote DA through my follow-up. Should I send them DA opt-in page directly instead? That's a good question. To be able to better answer that question, obviously I would need to know what the bait is, because you can actually do some damage with the free bait. The bait needs to be infotaining, just like an email. It has to be either expressing a polarizing opinion, or maybe talking about a common mistake, or maybe tells a story, right? But it has to be a bait that's designed to push the sale forward. It can be a bait that is designed to basically bribe them. It's like that concept, let me ethically bribe you to do business with me. Don't do it. So if that's your kind of bait, don't use it. But if that's infotaining bait, that's salesmanship and entertainment in one, then definitely do that.
Let's see, any more questions? He said the bait teaches people how to find a profitable niche online.
Well, that sounds like a hard teaching bait. So if you're actually showing your screen and says, okay guys, my name is Juan, let me try to find a niche, that's a bad thing. Because first off, many of them aren't really ready to have that conversation yet. Are they even thinking of a niche? Do they need a niche, right? Or do you show them how to find a niche in order to justify why DA is such an amazing product? So I would actually repurpose this. I would not hard teach. I would not walk them through how to get on Google keyword tool and find the right keyword or anything like that. I would keep it infotaining, 100% infotaining, and talk about, maybe even tell a story how I spent 3 years going from one niche to another to another to another, when I finally realized that the niche that was the easiest to get into and one of the most profitable to be in is the niche of making money online. Now that's something that a brand new fresh prospect can appreciate. It's not only informational and eye-opening to many of them, but also it shares a little bit of your struggle, of what you've gone through. And this is where you might generate understanding and connection, because they'd be like, oh, this guy knows exactly the kind of shit I'm going through right now.
Guys, any last cues? It's pretty late for Igor, is it? 1:20. You must be tired, Igor. Or are you fired up? Because that always happens to me when I go.
I'm good. I'm wide awake.
Yeah, when I give the webinar, like I had a webinar on Thursday, and it started at 2 a.m. in the morning for me. And I finished at 4 a.m. and I was fired up. Like the guy was like, okay, we're gonna have to let her go. It's 4 a.m. where she's. I'm like, I'm fired up. You can keep throwing questions at me all night. It was like, I couldn't sleep after. So yeah, I did that. Any last cues, guys, before we close? Okay, the replay is available. All you need to do is refresh this link. If you're interested in getting Igor's Done For You email marketing, then you've got the link below the video, or I can repost it for you. And Igor and I will definitely be doing another webinar for you guys in the future. So stay tuned for more. Any last any last comments, Igor?
Well, yeah. First off, guys, just a couple of reminders before we wrap this up. First off, don't be afraid to email. Don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. That's perfectly fine. Second, don't wait for anyone's permission. The only person that needs permission, whose permission you need, is you. Because the limits you impose on yourself are the only limits that hold you back. So don't wait for anyone's permission. Mail as soon as possible. Third, remember that you're communicating with human beings, because often online it's easy to forget that these are not just leads or numbers or megabytes. These are real people. And so oftentimes when I hear complaints such as, I email my list but I get nothing but freebie seekers tell me that they don't want to invest with me, etc. Well, it's human being, and it's the human being thing to do, to make excuses, right? To come up with reasons not to purchase. And why would they even trust you? Like, if you email them, okay, that's one thing, and you're trying, but do they really have a reason to trust you with their credit cards, to trust you with their finances? Have you given them a reason? One of the most powerful concepts I ever learned was that as a communicator, as a powerful communicator, you hold at least 50% responsibility on the conversation, the dialogue. So if someone tells you that they don't want to do business with you, a big portion of that, a big chunk of that result is on you. So instead of trying to look outward, outside of self for results, and to try to get more of the life out of your business and looking outside, start looking inside, and you'll find many ways to improve your life and improve your results. Trust me. Inside, just inner focused action is where it's all at. It's where the results are at. Okay, so that's where I probably want to leave it at, before we wrap this up.
Awesome, great content, Igor. I'm very pleased to have you here sharing all these golden nuggets for us. I've definitely learned a lot of stuff. So I hope you guys have taken notes. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch to let you guys know about another webinar. But please say thanks to Igor for doing this for us, especially during the nighttime for us. Yeah, and we'll see you on the next webinar. So with that said, make it a great evening, and we'll see you in the future. Bye-bye.